Here we are, another Big Daddy and Friends session, chat, laughs, and everything in between. And it's my honor to have probably one of the most respected people in the NFL. He's been a GM, he's been a vice president, now he's a big-time ESPN front office insider. Mike Tannenbaum, welcome to Big Daddy and Friends. How you doing, my man?
It's great to be with you, Big Daddy, and it's really my pleasure and honor. And you're someone that I like and respect quite a bit, and it's great to be with you.
Well, thank you, and the feeling's mutual. It's we know each other from my beginnings. I mean, I got into the insurance business, I think over 25 years ago now, and remember back then I was juggling two things. I was doing the insurance, and I was also trying to help our friend Mo Lewis sell T-shirts with Big Daddy gear, So that was a learning experience at the time. But for all our listeners and viewers out there, I'm just going to give a little bit of your background, your history, and then elaborate a little bit on it. I know you by watching NFL Network. I know that great piece that they did on the Browns back in the day where you had this super team that was all in one house at the same time. And just imagine, had it gone a little bit longer, or who knows what the possibilities could have been. Talk about that.
So I've been very lucky. I just believe in choose a job you love. You never work a day in your life. And I graduated from law school in '95. And while I was in law school, Big Daddy, I was so lucky, like the salary cap started. And I just put together like a small book of like how I would run a team in terms of handling the salary cap from a strategic standpoint. And I sent it out to, at the time, there was 30 teams and every head coach and GM. And basically like the only people that got back to me were Mike Lombardi and Bill Belichick with the Browns in '95. Like I literally went 2 for 60. I have 58 rejection letters, which by the way, I still have in my drawer today. And got hired by the Browns for the '95 season, drove people to the airport, research contracts. The Browns became the Ravens, and I was gone with a whole bunch of other people. And from there, I was very lucky. The Saints took me back. I'd spent a year and a half in law school working for them for free, and I think made a good enough impression where they brought me back and spent the '96 season there. And then following the '96 season, Coach Parcells and Belichick left the New England Patriots, went to the Jets, and I was fortunate enough to get hired by 2 Hall of Fame coaches and spent 16 years there. Last 7 as general manager, and went to 3 championship games over my time there, and made friendships that'll last me a lifetime, and very, very fortunate. And then from there, like yourself, I have I would say a little bit of a entrepreneurial sort of desire. And started representing coaches because I felt like I'd spent 16 years doing one thing and it was time to try something else, and had an unbelievable good fortune of representing a lot of basketball coaches in addition to NFL. And in the 2015 NBA championship, the Warriors played the Cavaliers, and I happened to represent both Steve Kerr and David Blatt. So that was a thrill for me, and to work with people like David Blatt and Steve Kerr, I learned way more from them than they could have ever taught me, and did that for a couple of years, and then got to know Steve Ross, the owner of the Dolphins. And he asked me to start working and looking at like elite athlete performance and optimal performance. So went around the world, went to AC Milan, Bayern Munich, and looked at the best of the best. And we started to do things at the Dolphins, just from a performance and analytics standpoint, and those conversations continue to grow and develop, and wound up running the Dolphins for 4 years and went to the playoffs in year 1, which had never been done with Steve. So really proud of that accomplishment. And then after the 2018 season, things did not work out with Coach Gase. And, when those things happen, I was part of the reason Coach Gase was there, and away we went, which is, what you sign up for in this business. And I was very lucky that Bill Polian at that time was retiring from ESPN, and they needed an on-air GM, and I was just at the right place at the right time. And it's been absolutely incredible. Just from a standpoint, like I get to work with literally like Hall of Famers and, people like just too many to name, but the Schefters and the Greenies of the world, and, just on and on and on, just like the best of the best. And it just challenges me to raise my game. And there's people there, Brian Clark, and, I've worked with guys like Bart Scott and Damian Woody, Mark Sanchez, just on and on and on, just really smart, bright, capable people that make me way better. Laura Rutledge, like, there's just too many to name, but it's been a great experience. And then it's also allowed me to do some other things, and proud to be on the board of a company called X2 and X2performance.com, which is a natural, healthy, good for you energy drink. There's a lot of other competitors out there that have a lot of caffeine, sugar, things that aren't good for you. This is something that is actually good for your body, Big Daddy. And we're really privileged to have Kawhi Leonard not only invest in the company, but is also one of our board of directors.
Well, I've had the good fortune of being a tester, because, you had sent me some, and I have to say, when's my next order coming? But, but
you got it.
No, I know. Thank you. And, one of the biggest thrills I had was, being around everybody like we've been for so long, I never really get starstruck. But one of the coolest things that ever happened to me, and it happened because of you, was meeting Steve Kerr. I happened to be, they were playing the Nets, and he was doing the color. And that was before, I guess, he took on the coaching thing. And, he came over and said hello. And he's like, yeah, Mike Tannenbaum's my agent. And I was like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And it was really, really like, that was a thrill for me, because it was out of my element. I'm more football, hockey. So going to speak to someone like that, that caliber, he was just such a down-to-earth guy. And I was hoping, man, I wish he could coach the Nets, because then he would be in our backyard and, whatever. But that was a really great experience to get to know him. And he's so successful. I mean, I'm a fan of his.
We could talk about Steve for hours, literally, but when I had the privilege of working with him, he talked about, like, you got to make me better. And I'm like, here's a Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame broadcaster. He was a successful GM of the Phoenix Suns, which nobody even ever talks about. And it was incredible. Like, he flew to Saratoga Springs, New York to spend a day with Coach Parcells. He flew to go see Pete Carroll in Seattle. And I'll never forget, he called me from the practice field at Seattle. It was one of those crazy, training camp practices with Pete, where, they had, Marines literally, coming out of the ocean, not the ocean, but there's, a river that goes along their facility. Just crazy things going on at practice. And he called me up. He goes, Mike, I'm going to be a really good coach, because I saw today what authenticity is as a coach, meaning that Pete Carroll is coaching the way he believes to be an effective coach. He wasn't trying to be anybody else. And he goes, I'm not going to be Phil Jackson. I'm not going to be Greg Popovich. I'm going to be Steve Kerr. And I know I can do this. I know I can do a good job of it. And today was validation, because I saw somebody coaching the way they felt like they should coach. That was one. And Big Daddy, the other thing that, I talk to my kids about this line, all the time, and he, this inspires me, every day. So we get the deal done with the Warriors. It's a massive, massive deal. And I'm not just saying that because I felt like I did a good job as the agent, because he was so in demand. But, they needed to make a big commitment to him for him to do this. And I'm like, Steve, what are you going to go do now? And Big Daddy, I think about this sentence, literally every day. He goes, Mike, I'm going to go to Las Vegas. I'm like, why are you going to Vegas? He goes, I have to go coach the summer league and make mistakes. He goes, I have to go learn. I have to go work on the rotation. I have to go learn how to deal with the media, or I have to go learn how to deal with the officials. And I got to go coach right now. So when we start the season, I can make some of these mistakes in the summer league. And I'm thinking to myself, that is great wisdom, for all of us. It's not where you are, but it's where you're going and how do you improve. And here's a guy that had this massive amount of money coming, who could have easily taken the easy way out and said, no, I start the job today and I got to go work on my craft and go get better.
You know what? And I believe in that because it's funny. I'm not in his shoes or situation, but when I went to, when I had the good fortune to start doing Fox and Friends and doing all those, interviews and being a correspondent at the Super Bowl, it used to dawn on me. I'm like, man, here's 10 to 15, 20, 30 million people watching you. And look, I'm not there to be an oil painting or anything along those lines. What you see is what you get. But I'm there to try to do the best job that I can. And, like friends like you and everyone else that, is I'm fortunate to get to come over and we chat. Um, I said, how can I get better at this? And with social media where it's at now, I've been doing as much possible, like posting and practicing. And sometimes I even practice on my own where just to get comfortable in front of the camera and also to speak properly at times. Because, I still got that New York gibberish and, that's never going anywhere, but it comes out. But, um, I can appreciate Steve Kerr's thinking the way you just explained that because he is a guy that his resume is impeccable and you can applaud it all day long. And for him to say that, that's a wow. You know what I mean? It's a big wow.
And like one of the things like I've learned, like, I've hired experts for me. So like I have a broadcast coach, I have a public speaking coach, and they make you better. And they tell you things you don't want to hear, your posture or whatever it may be. And I'm always about like, I want to be uncomfortable and learn and get better. And, it's about people like him. And I happen to be very close with Dan Quinn, and, everyone knows that, he's no longer the head coach of Atlanta, and Peter King just wrote this, but he talked about how he hired somebody when he left the Falcons to speak to 50 people about how he could get better. And then she reported back to Dan to say, like, here are some things that, you could improve upon. And she talked to players and agents and fellow coaches. And like, those are the people I love being around because they're trying to get better. Like
Yeah.
Dan Quinn, Steve Kerr, they're just different versions of the same principle.
And you know what? Dan is one of my favorites too. We go back a ways, obviously, through my brother Jimmy, who's with the Bills now. I remember going out to dinner one time. They were all coaching together. I don't know if it was at Hofstra or one of the schools, and we ended up going over to Don Pep's over there by JFK. That famous Italian spot, and that's how long with him and Kyle Flood. And it's kind of funny how I always tell people that when I used to hang out at the Jets, obviously I went there even before you were there because of my relationship with the Hamptons, Mr. Hampton and Billy Jr. and Clay and everybody. And I tell people all the time that I remember when Billy Jr. and Clay, all those guys started at the bottom. They were picking up socks and jocks and folding towels and when I would come home, sometimes I would do it, or if I had free time, but those people all advanced. They went on to better their careers. Billy, I remember the day he said to me, hey, I'm leaving the Jets because I just got offered a job at NFL Properties. And I think I almost cried because I was so used to seeing him there. And then all of a sudden he was gone. And then that's where learning about when players get cut. Marvin Washington, who we both know, was at the Jets for a 9-year run. Then all of a sudden he was gone. And I felt like I had lost him, like he died, because I was so used to, and that's what really got me accustomed to players, moving on and going to different teams and coaches going from one team and, even, yourself, everybody moves obviously because of that world. But, in the beginning, I had to really I took it kind of in a personal matter because when you know so many people and you've been comfortable where they're at, then all of a sudden, boom, they're gone. Whether it's for good or bad, I would say, man, I can't believe I'm not going to see, Mike Tannenbaum. I'm not going to see Bill Hampton Jr. I'm not going to see anybody. I don't even know, this whole staff came in that I don't know anybody. But, it goes to show how, the old joke is NFL stands for not for long, and which Jerry Glanville made famous. And it's a learning experience to watch all that,
Yeah. And I would tell you, like, there's pros and cons to everything. And, this actually, it's happened to me twice in my career, leaving the Jets and the Dolphins, but like, you really find out like the authentic relationships and just to be candid, Big Daddy, like, and this happened to me both times where, people like you feel like you invested in, like they weren't there the day you walked out the door. And you're like, really? Like, I thought we had something better than that, something,
Yeah.
more authentic. But on the other side of that, there were people that were there for me in spades. I was like, really? Like, didn't think I had that sort of dynamic. And, and I tell this to my kids all the time, like in life, like you want to invest in people, relationships, and that are worthy and fulfilling. And that's not with everybody. That's just the way life is. But it's also like, I try to look at it glass is half full. Like, it's invigorating that, I've had the great fortune, like Kawhi Leonard, I was able to sign him because I knew his agent for 25 years, someone that I did 100 deals with when nobody was looking. And it's how you treat people. And I know, like, every opportunity I've gotten, it's because how I've treated people along the way. And I'm really proud of that. And that's not to say there haven't been big bumps in the road, because there have been. And I know there'll be more in the future, but that's what it's all about. And one other thing along these lines that I'm really, really proud of that I'd like to mention, and by the way, you're more than welcome to sit in on this, but we basically started a think tank. So it's a consortium of like GMs and head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And we get together once a week. We're called the 33rd team. And we just talk about like the events of the week. And we have about 40 people on the call. And every week we try to make ourselves better. And we just had Dan Quinn present, and Joe Banner talked about Carson Wentz's contract. And every week we're just talking about like the issues of the week and try to make ourselves better.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you. I'd love to try that one day. It's I'm always willing to learn. It's you learn something every day, I think. And some of the things that I may have like shied away from or turned my cheek at are things now that I sit there and I listen to and I pay close attention to. And you're right, relationships are what drive a lot of things. I mean, it is from, people say to me, well, you're able to do this and this and this and this and this. And I always say, look, one, I'm blessed. Two, I'm fortunate. And three, I think I try to be as close as being a man of my word. If I say I could do something, I could do it. If I say I can't, I say I can't. Or if I don't have an answer, I go and I find the answer. You've had the good fortune of meeting my partner, Chris Muro, who's right down the street there from you. And the reason we work so well is because, one, I trust him impeccably. And two, I always joke around. I said, he's my glossary / dictionary, because all the smart words that I can't pronounce or know, he knows them. And that's why we work great. I mean, we had a Zoom call yesterday with two agents, two insurance people in regards to one of the coaches, an NHL coach. And we went through this whole hour and a half presentation, and we ended up, it was positive and it was great. And now we have a follow-up. Whereas who knows what would have happened if I didn't have that person as my teammate and confidant, and that's the kind of relationship we have. And I think, me well enough now that I don't ever like to embarrass anyone. If you recommend me to somebody or send me to somebody and vice versa, I want to represent in the right way and be the man that I say I am and do what I say I can do.
Yeah. So can I ask my question to you?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Because that it's perfect. Where does that come from? Because like I've always known you as like someone that carries themselves like above the fray, and like someone that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And I'm just curious, like, where does that come from? Like, who inspired you to be that way, or like, who's your mentor?
Well, it's funny. I have a couple of mentors, but my parents, they instilled. Both my parents were immigrants, so my father came from Peru, and my mother came from the Dominican Republic. And my father gave his heart and soul. You know, my father's still alive. My mom, unfortunately, isn't. But my father showed me and both my brothers, I believe, what hard work is, because he did everything and anything to make sure that, you know, we had a normal lifestyle. You know what? We grew up in, my father had the American dream. He came here, he started, he was a dishwasher, and then met my mom in a restaurant. We lived in Queens, and then obviously the next dream is to take your family out of a, you know, 2-bedroom apartment and buy a house. We moved to New Hyde Park, and the rest was history. So I think that's where the hard work part comes from for me. And then as far as mentors, it's funny. My high school coach, Angelo Giuliano, was a guy that I was probably more afraid of than my own father. And he would yell, and I will tell you, I would, whatever hair I had back then would be on wit's end, because when he yelled, my hair stood up. And so he played a big role in my maturing. And also a name that you're going to remember, Larry Pasquale.
Sure.
His wife came into my life in the 11th grade, and she was my guidance counselor. So when she introduced me to Larry kind of mentored me, and, you know, and here I was going over to, that's what started the whole Jets thing for me. I was going over there, and I was, you know, Marty Lyons, all these guys I was meeting, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I maybe one day I could do this. And, you know, it propelled me to go from high school, and Larry guided me to prep school. And prep school was no easy run, because you had to learn how to study what you didn't do from grades 9 to 12. You had to do in 6 months under lock and key, and with some incredible supervision that I was not accustomed to, and nor did I like. But those are big mentors. And then the guy that really kind of taught me a lot in a 2-year period that was at the Jets was Ronnie Lott. Ronnie took me under his wing, and I did so much with him. And I learned how a guy who, you know, had Super Bowl rings and had so much notoriety and was so famous, the guy still worked as hard as he was a rookie, if he was a rookie. And I remember the old gray Motorola phones back in the day?
Sure, yeah.
With the big battery and everything?
Yeah.
I sat in a car with Ronnie from Columbia, Missouri to Kansas City, Missouri. And between that ride, he must have went through like 10 batteries, because he was on the phone the whole time with the CEO of this company, with, I remember at the time, Gene Upshaw. He was with this one, this one, this one. I was like, man, I go, I don't know what his phone bill must be, you know, a month back then, but that's a guy that really, and to this day, you know, I spoke to Ronnie yesterday, and he's coming on the show, and Ronnie is still a confidant and a guy that I look up to, and I learned a lot from. So I think those are, you know, those are the answers to the questions that you just asked me. So let me ask one last thing.
Okay.
I've been so fortunate to be friends with your wife and meet your family, and I want to say, please send my best and happy holidays to you and the family, and hopefully I'll get down to Florida and see you guys soon. And I do owe Michelle some Umbertos, so when I get down there, it'll be on the plane with me.
Michelle will love to see you, just to see you and give you a big hug, but that will make her very happy. So thank you. And it's been great to be on here, and greatly appreciate our friendship. You're the best. You're honest, sincere, and hopefully we get to see each other as things get back to normal. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this in secretive, but only you and I know we're going to talk about this. But you know, I hope to get our other project off the ground after things hopefully get back to normal, because I know we've been trying for like 2 years now, and it's a much needed thing, and it'll be a lot of fun. And so I'm excited for that too. But again, Happy holidays. And Mike, thank you so much for being on. Everyone, make sure you watch Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN, Front Office NFL Insider. You want to learn something? And I'm not saying the other guys don't know, but watch Mike. You will learn a lot of things, and I promise you're getting it from a guy that's been there, not from somebody who hasn't. So until next time, Big Daddy and friends, we'll see everybody soon. And don't forget, check us out on Amazon.com and also Spotify. And go to website www.sportsnut, NAUT on the end.com. Until next time, Big Daddy, see you guys soon.